Yep.
Second rule is, if I recall correctly, is basically, if possible, try to be nice to each other. I know we might disagree on some things. Well, I know we might not necessarily shake hands on literally 100% everything, right? But at least, if possible, make it respect a certain etiquette of debate. I still stand by my position on whatever I said about you.
You think I'm a
I'm just gonna
fascist,
make
eh?
that clear.
You think I'm a fascist?
Yes.
Well, I mean, if one of the cornerstones of fascism is not believing in objective truth, and I believe in objective truth and you don't, doesn't that make you the
That doesn't
fascist?
really sound honest.
Of course I of course I believe in objective truth.
Okay, yeah, whatever. Whatever. I'll see you later eventually.
Okay, sure, man. He just left. Wait, he said his own chat is turning against him? What? Do you when you see left and right, those terms, do you view them as good and evil?
Well, not just left and right, but authoritarian or, liberal in some way. But yes, I do sort of view it that way.
So the left is good, the right is evil, and that is simply that. There's only one direction things can go.
Well, in some way, yeah, sort of.
Well, at the start of the conversation, you said that you used to be a far right individual and you were getting involved in like the Nazi part of the internet, and now you're a far left individual and you've started to read Kropotkin and that sort of thing. The thing is, it's gonna sound hard for you to accept, but the thing is, you didn't actually change your thinking. You simply switched around the groups that you privilege. You're still
Yeah, but
thinking
even
in
then, I admit I was wrong back when I used kind of a this Nazi person.
Of course, of
Like, oh,
course.
someone can completely change their mind on that kind of regard.
No, I completely agree. Yes, that's true. But you're still thinking in collectivist terms. You're still thinking in terms of groups. You
Hmm.
have changed, you have changed the Jew for the bourgeoisie, but the actual way that you think has remained the same. The actual habits you go through in your head have remained the same.
I don't think you know me that personally to actually tell that kind of thing.
Maybe not, maybe not. I'm just taking a guess here. Because to think like an individualist, to not look at people as being what part of what race they are, or what class they are, or what gender they are, to think of people as individuals takes a lot more than simply switching from right to left.
Yeah, but even then, as an anarcho-communist, I think individualistically.
I don't think so.
What are you trying to get into here?
What I'm trying to get into is that an individualist thinking, liberal thinking, even libertarian thinking is very different from people who think in terms of left right. And I think that's why there's so many people going from far left to far right and back again very quickly, over the course of like a year, even though they haven't really read anything. They watch like bread tubers, they watch whoever's popular at the time on YouTube. Like they're not people these people aren't changing.
Doesn't
They're not
doesn't
changing
mean
really.
like doesn't mean the bread tubers' opinions are invalid or whatever. Like the theories are invalid or whatever. He's those who are more into authoritarian leftist kind of ideologies, like the one by Stalin, or say Mao, or say anything authoritarian, right? That's really not really like a leftist kind of thing, but more of a right wing kind of thing in disguise, like Stalin does, right? Leninism, in fact.
So so
But
so so you think that the Soviets, they weren't authoritarian left, they were right wingers in disguise?
yeah, exactly. Like,
I've been attacked by Antifa. I've been doxxed by Antifa, so I don't I see them as two sides of the same terrible coin. Here, I got a
uh,
passage here. So this is talking about the socialists in the
Mm.
1880s in France, and they say, the anti-liberal and anti-democratic bias went together with a violent rejection of Marxism. Anti-Marxism, anti-capitalism, and anti-liberalism were the common denominator of all of these different variants of a revolt, and were a fitting expression of their essence, namely the rejection of materialism. So, materialism as a philosophy is something that Marxists and liberals share, and these people, they were syndicalists, they rejected materialism. And
I
then,
gotta point out though that fascists are not socialists.
okay, so when the people refuse to abide by those regulations and those laws, what do you do?
Well, I don't know, try to regulate the market at least.
No, but if they refuse to abide by the regulation, if they just say, no, fuck you, I won't do it.
I don't it's like sort of punish them in some way, but I'm not sure. I didn't read too much into it. I can admit I'm kind of a newbie into this, but um in some way try to not make it like the capitalist free market thing where anyone easily can become a monopoly out of nowhere, and the capital is mostly accumulated by a minority while the rest barely has the breadcrumbs. That's what I understand about it.
Well, I would like to point out it politely. I would like to point out that what you have described is what the Soviet Union did. People did not want to do that stuff, and the government forced them. You punish them when they don't do it. That is authoritarian fundamentally. Hmm.
The National Bureau of Economic Research
Hmm.
has received $10 million from conservative donors.
Of course, yes.
Then you're basically agreeing with conservative points of view.
I do not view conservatives as purely evil either.
Why not?
For the same reason that I don't view leftists as purely evil.
You mean you said fascist, right?
I said leftists.
Leftist, right?
Oh, of course they do. Yeah, no, that's true. Like fascism is the power of the state and the power of private business merged together. That's true. But in my opinion, that's also socialism.
How is socialism fascism?
Okay, so the
Like
socialist
that doesn't make
position.
any sense. Like fascism
Well, here
doesn't
I
have
can describe it
like
to you.
anything about socialism in
Well,
there.
I can describe it to you. So the socialist position is that the people should own the means of production, not the capitalist class. If you had to do this on a large enough scale, what body represents the people in large scale matters? The state. Therefore, the state owns the means of production. What's interesting is that when anarcho-communists like yourself criticize the Soviet Union, they call it state capitalism. And yet, if you were to read Mussolini's economic writings, what he calls fascist economics, what has later been known as third way economics, that is entirely what the leftists call state capitalism. So, what we can get out of this is that if a state implements socialism, then you get fascism.
Socialism is against private ownership of the means of production.
Yes, but if the state owns all of the means of production, then that's not private ownership. That's state ownership, and the state is the public entity. Well, Mussolini did call himself a socialist for a reason.
So
Here,
you're like directly believing Mussolini.
um, I believe Mussolini the same amount that I believe Marx.
What does that even mean?
I think they're both charlatans.
You were saying previously that Nazis moved from nationalized industry to privatized industry, right?
I can actually talk about that right now. So what I've just pulled up because I was looking for it is let me just look at the title here: "The Coining of Privatization and Germany's National Socialist Party" by Germa Bell. I can link that to you if you like as well. So this is
Mm-hmm.
important because let's just see here. Just going to do a quick Control F to find the thing. Okay, on page 190 we have in 1943, Sidney Merlin published Trends in German Economic Control since 1933 in the Quarterly Journal of Economics. Merlin agrees that Germany's National Socialist Party was looking not only for business support, but also for increased Nazi control over the economy. The party facilitates the accumulation of private fortunes and industrial empires by its foremost members and collaborators through privatization and other members, thereby intensifying centralization of economic affairs and the government in an increasingly narrow group that may, for all practical purposes, be termed the National Socialist elite. So, that clearly is not socialism, right? Obviously. But it's also not the liberal conception of privatization. Because when a liberal government privatizes something, let's say Canada, the government of Canada wanted to sell off Canada Post to a private owner so that they may run the postal service in whatever private way that they like. What Canada Post will do is that they'll probably if they don't have a buyer lined up, they usually have a buyer lined up when this kind of thing happens. But if they don't have a buyer lined up, they'll take offers, they'll sell it for the best deal, and then there'll probably be some regulations in place. But the person who owns the business will run it how they as they see fit, and then collect the profits. But what the Nazis did instead was they would actually nationalize businesses that directly went against the party's interests, and then give them to party loyalists to run. So it was a different thing. The businesses became organs of the Nazi Party itself. They weren't privately operated. Like, for example, um, in a liberal society, if you want to run a news outlet and criticize the government, you can do so. You cannot do that in a fascist society. In fact, if you try to do that, your company will be nationalized and then given to a party loyalist who will run it the way that the party wants it to be run. So this is not free market capitalism. It's not anarcho-socialism either, but it's definitely not free market capitalism.
Okay, so let me get this straight. If fascism is when the state allows things, then it's most likely that capitalism is equal fascism because capitalism couldn't exist without the threat of force.
I think every state has to have at least some minimum threat of force to exist. Like you
Okay.
have to have some, like,
Right.
even the most libertarian state will require a police force to ensure to guard from victimization from within, and then a military to guard victimization from outside. So you still need at least some level of force. The question is what makes the force legitimate, and I think the answer to that is the consent of the governed.
So conservatives want to keep Twitter and Facebook private, but they want the government to exert control over it to govern people. A hijacked private property is still a private company, though.
That's true, yes. I mean, I'm not saying that there's not some correlations between liberalism and fascism. There obviously is. But there's also correlations between liberalism and socialism, and there's correlations between fascism and socialism. They are three related, slightly overlapping ideologies that all hate each other. That's true.
Like everyone should be equal in their condition of sort of how do you say it? Like sort of conditions of say capital or say conditions of class status, if you can catch my drift.
I do know what you mean, yeah. So if I worked twice as long as you at my job, should I not get twice as much money?
Like Jeff Bezos is not millions of times better than the average Amazon worker.
True enough, but that's a different conversation. I meant just for you and I. We can talk about Jeff Bezos in a minute. But for
We're
you and
both proletariat, though.
yeah, but still, for you and I, if I work twice as long as you at a job, should I get twice as much money?
No, I think we should be equal in terms of capital in some way.
Okay, so if that's the case, why should I work twice as long?
Well, the thing that kind of seems to me is that under your perspective, both the rich and the poor are banned from sleeping under bridges, right?
How do you mean exactly? I don't quite know what you mean.
Like, I don't know. I'm basically reading for chat at this point, but I'm
Mhm.
gonna move on to something else, right? If you don't mind,
Sure, of course, of course, of course.
because okay,
Don't. It's not because I don't think those things work. Those things work. I don't think it is the government's place to force anybody to do them, even if they work. That's my position.
but they have to for the security of everyone else. Like it's not really that kind of forcing. It's just basically forcing security measures. Like, I guess you want people to die, isn't it?
Nope, nope, that's not it at all. It's that I don't trust governments when a government says we have to do this for the greater good, when we're doing this for the sake of security. Governments have done terrible things with that logic.
Yes, I agree, but even then, like, does that mean you don't want to wear a mask or something, or like have a lockdown or something? Because quite frankly,
No,
I feel like you're more concerned about not wanting to wear a mask because it violates your freedoms, even though it's a security measure, so you don't basically die.
yeah, see, I would rather die.
You'll rather die.
I mean, I've had COVID and I could have died, but I didn't.
Huh.
And
So
I still feel the same way. I think the state has no place forcing people to dress a certain way. I have to point out you're an anarcho-communist and you're arguing for a big government statist answer to this problem. Socialism and
I
fascism
mean,
are neighbors, basically.
socialism and fascism, they're like not neighbors at all.
They're absolutely
Ideology, the
neighbors.
complete opposite.
No, I don't think so at all. I don't think so. It's all state centralization. That is their key defining characteristic. Is that, you know, in fascism, the state centralizes business for the purposes of the party. In socialism, the state centralizes business for the purposes of the people, which is usually the party. So it ends up being the same thing. Now, we can have conversations about other forms of socialism where it's not the state implementing it. But if the state implements socialism, you always get fascism, always.
How is that even true anyway? Like, I don't see it. Like, what are your sources on that?
Um, well, there's the book that I started with, Zeev Sternhell's Neither Right Nor Left. There's that book. Hold on a second.
Doesn't mean it's factual though.
Okay,
Like you already
I have
said, like
others.
even those
Hold
kind
on.
of books are not 100% factual.
Okay, I have The Open Society and Its Enemies by Karl Popper. That's a good
Oh
read.
God.
There is The Vampire Economy, Doing Business Under Fascism by Gunter Reimann. You can read that
Okay,
one.
so that basically means that fascism is capitalism on decay, according to that title of the book.
No, no, it doesn't. No. In fact,
Like
hold on. I would say that
it basically says like vampire. What is the title again?
uh, yeah, The Vampire Economy. And the main argument of the book is that fascism is socialism in decay.
Fascism is socialism in decay.
Yes. So if you have
That
implemented
doesn't make any fucking sense. Like
it
socialism is
does,
a
it does, it
complete
does, it does.
opposite of like fascism.
Okay,
Like
hear me out,
come
hear
on.
me out. Please hear me out. So, what would a government have to do to implement socialism? What kind of power would they have to seize? What kind of centralization would they have to impose on a society? And
They
then,
have to break the state.
yeah, but here's the thing: once the people who are running that power, that centralization, become corrupt, it will turn to fascism instantly. That's the point.
Doesn't have anything to do with socialism. Anyone can become corrupt from any point of view, and like they can become fascist. But that doesn't have anything to do with like socialism.
So, if you have already expanded the powers of an office, and then the person who takes that office becomes corrupt, they can use those powers in an evil way. But if the office's powers are not expanded, if the powers are in fact restrained, it doesn't matter if an evil person takes the office because his powers are limited. Socialism requires a large amount of power to be centralized in one place to centrally plan the economy.
Oh, God.
It absolutely does. Of course it does.
I
Like,
don't think I don't still see where's the correlation between fascism and socialism.
well, that's the correlation. It's that so we both agree that, first of all, let's just go back to basics. You and I agree that fascism is bad, right?
Yes.
Yes. And you and I both agree that a core component of fascism is massive centralization of power within the apparatus of the state.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
I'm not sure about that, but
well,
okay.
Mussolini said nothing, something
Oh,
like
you're
nothing.
bringing Mussolini now.
Yes, I am, because he was a fascist. And he said here, nothing outside the state. Okay, Mussolini famously said everything within the state, nothing against the state, nothing outside the state. That was the fascist conception of the state, is that the state had to have its hands in everything. Nothing could be left alone.
Literally believing what fascism says.
Yes, because we're talking about fascists.
But even then, like, that's directly correlating with fascism. You believe in fascism
I do not
in order
believe in
to, like,
fascism. No. You're getting the wrong idea. Okay, here.
basically you're agreeing with fascism at that point.
No, I'm not. I'm simply describing
Yes,
their.
you are.
No, I'm describing their arguments.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm
Like,
just.
come on, you're
No, no,
basically taking as fact whatever Mussolini says.
no. I'm not taking it as fact. I'm describing his position to you. It is not my position.
And you consider that position as fact?
Well, here. Let's see if you can debunk it. Okay. So, when Mussolini says everything within the state, nothing against the state, nothing outside the state, when he says those words, by your conception of what fascism is, does that sound accurate?
Well, no.
No? So the fascists don't believe in state centralization?
No, they believe in fucking private property and everything, like anything capitalism is. But on the extremes.
Hold on, let me just pull something up real quick, okay?
Yeah, look, like what I understand so far is that you basically agree with like fascist ideas at this point. Like,
No, I do
there's
not.
no other point
Absolutely
about
not.
it.
Absolutely not. You know,
Yes, you fucking
no,
do.
no.
Like,
Libertarianism
like you
is
agree on like
diametrically
a
opposed to
ton of
fascism.
capital.
Okay, so you elect Bernie Sanders, President Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders
Mhm.
goes to the businesses and says, "We are equalizing everything. There is no more private property. You have to give up your ownership to the workers." The business owners say, "No, fuck you. This is our stuff." What do you do? What does President Bernie Sanders do?
I mean, he just puts the force in there. Doesn't
So
mean it's
he uses
necessarily
force.
bad.
So he uses force. Exactly what the Soviets did. They told business owners, we're collectivizing you. The business owners said no. The government sent in the military. It is the same thing.
Oh Jesus! Again with the Soviets, like the Soviets are authoritarian in every single regard, but that doesn't like that like that kind of theory doesn't really apply on the Soviets. I
Oh,
don't know if you. Oh
okay,
God.
but no, I understand. It's just that what you're describing is what the Soviets did. What you're saying that President Bernie Sanders would do in your hypothetical future is what the Soviets did.
No,
Yes.
doesn't mean to literally do what exactly what the Soviets did. It could be millions of ways to tackle a business owner denying to give his capital to like the proletariat.
What way does it without using force?
I look. I haven't read too much leftist theory to be able to tell you, but I'm gonna say this. All
Mm-hmm.
right, like you're not kind of being honest on whatever you tell me, or that you're a centrist on whatever kind of theories you actually tell me. I kind of feel like yeah, I understand. Like I understand like I'm kind of a newbie on this kind of thing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
debating is not really my thing.
Well,
But so far I kind of see that you're still agreeing with kind of at least with capitalism, if not with fascism in every single regard.
oh,
Because like a lot of these things that you say about socialism being bad or whatever, it's just basically what the majority of conservatives say,
well, the
if
thing is,
not the fascists.
I'm not a fascist at all. But if you're going to call me a centrist, I will begrudgingly accept the label, even though I don't like left and right. If you're going to call me a liberal, I'll say yes. If you're going to call me a libertarian, I'll say yes with a few stars against that. If you're going to call me a capitalist, I'll say yes. I don't think capitalism's bad, but I call it liberalism because that's what it is, and I am a liberal. Yes.
The problem with capitalism is that it goes hand in hand with fascism as well.
I do not think it does.
Yes, it does.
Well, I don't think the fascists are free marketeers.
Yes, they are.
They are.
They're pro private property, and pretty much, they incentivize a free market.
Okay,
So,
but at the same time,
it's like,
I did point out to you earlier with one of the quotations that the
oh,
fascists
Jesus.
well, no, these are things that we talked about, man. Like these are things that you previously agreed to.
I don't think I necessarily agree to that.
Okay, well let me just quickly da, da, da,
Now,
da,
you
da,
know
da.
what? I think this is we're basically going in circles already, and I think
Well,
I can come up to the conclusion.
there
I
are
can
other
come
things
up
we
to
can
the
talk about.
conclusion that you're basically, like, uh, believe it or whatever you want to believe, but I want to make a conclusion already because it's already been like nearly 3 hours, and I gotta take a pee and all that kind of crap.
Well, before
I
you do,
mean,
I want
come
to
on.
point out one thing, if you don't mind. One final thing, and I pointed out that Vosh's conception of the truth was downstream from power, which is what Vosh believes. He said it on his stream, and I said this is why he's
Mhm.
a grifter. He doesn't actually believe in truth. He believes that truth comes from power. Um, and I asked you if
Oh,
that's
by
how.
the way, here's the point though.
Okay, yeah.
Like, in a lot of your videos, you tend to I guess at least in your past videos, you tend to share like a lot of right-wing ideas in your videos. Like that, I mean, that's undeniable, right? Like,
Well,
even though, like,
the
if
thing
like
is,
it should be dishonest to like really follow right-wing ideas on your videos when you're a centrist. Like that kind of means you're kind of like a far-right grifter in some way, as we may call it.
well, the thing is, I'm actually much older than I probably sound. I feel old. And when I was, say, in my teens, the opinions that I put forward then and now are similar. But back then they were called far left. You know? I am from an era before gay marriage was legalized in Canada in 2003. And I went
How
to
old are you?
old.
How
But
old? A number. I need a number.
don't worry about that.
Come
Don't
on,
worry about that.
you.
Don't worry about that. But the point is that I went to a rally to get gay marriage legalized here in Canada. And my opinions were
It's basically trolling.
no, I'm not trolling. I'm just old.
Yes, you are. Like, how were you at Stonewall or something?
No, no, no. This is 2000. This is in the early 2000s. This was like 20 years ago. Um,
Was that even like
okay.
was
Here,
gay
here,
marriage
here.
legal in
I'm
the
I'm
U.S.
I'm
in
65
2000?
years old. Okay, I'm 65 years old. All right.
You don't sound 65 years old.
I know. It's because it's 'cause
No, no, no,
I
no, no. You
no
sound like you
I don't dude.
you
I
don't
don't
even sound
smoke.
like 60, like 62 years old.
It's because I don't smoke.
Even though you don't smoke, you don't sound like 62 years old.
Well, listen. My point is
Come
that
on, man. You're just basically trolling. Come
no,
on.
no, 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 no. My opinions over the past 20 years haven't changed too much. And yet they were considered left wing back then, and now they're not.
Okay, then what convinced you to move to the centrist kind of thing?
I didn't change. Everyone else changed. The political landscape changed.
Huh.
Here, I found what I was looking for. Okay. So, yeah. I said that yeah, Vosh thinks all truth is downstream from power. And you said something along the lines of you said that sounds reasonable, I think. And this is in our DMs, by the way. I said, do you think that the world contains no objective truth? It's all just power dynamics. So the mug in my desk is not really brown. And you said, considering that we live in a post-truth world, that might be the case. So is that how you actually feel about truth?
Yes. I mean, considering the times we live on, we live in actually a post truth kind of world. So nobody knows what's true or not these days. I mean, it could be basically either a rumor or either like a false or thing, or it could be actually truth, but nobody actually knows. Like we even have to need fact checkers for this kind of stuff.
Well, the thing is, though, like, do you actually believe that truth only comes from power? I mean, that is what Vosh believes. He said it several times, and I watched the whole stream to get the context. He absolutely thinks that something is true if a powerful enough person wills it to be true.
Well, if yes, I mean, if they actually Like that's the point, really. Like a lot of the history is written by the victors for the most part, and that's the real thing about it. You know.
Okay, so the mug on my desk right now is brown, but if you had enough power over me, you could make the mug a different color, and the truth would change.
Well, sadly, yes.
Okay, so you understand and this is, by the way, this is also Vosh's position. You understand that that is a fundamental fascist position,
How do
right?
you think it's that Vosh's position? I
Okay,
don't
well,
think he necessarily agrees on that
oh
kind
no,
of thing.
he absolutely agrees. He said it in his debate stream with another socialist that I can't remember the name of. But you know that is a fascist position, right? That
I don't.
truth is downstream from power.
I don't really think Vosh necessarily agree with that. I mean, probably he stated it as as some sort of like fact of general the state of things. You know.
Well, you also agree with it just now.
I mean, sadly, because that's sadly what is going on right now.
Okay, so in a brief history
Not
of
necessarily agreeing with that,
in,
but that's what exactly going on right now. That's what I
hold on.
mean.
In a brief history of fascist lies by Federico Filchenstein, he talks about like what makes a government truly fascist in that book. And he said, let me just find it here. Fascism proposes the notion of truth that transcends reason and is incarnated in the myth of power. So basically, the truth only exists if a powerful person says it exists. Um,
I don't
eh,
know. You don't seem like intellectually honest when you have to
he
look
said,
at books all the
well,
time.
that is how you learn things, is by reading.
You agree with a book that basically agrees with whatever Mussolini says as
No, that's
actually
not what.
true.
No. See,
Yes, it does.
what the book says is that the fascists believed that truth came from powerful people. All right? They did not believe in reason. They did not believe in objective truth. They thought that truth only came from power, and yet that is the position that Vosh himself believes.
It doesn't mean that.
Vosh is more of a
Doesn't
fascist
mean
than I
that
am.
doesn't mean that's his position. That means that's how things are really going on right now.
I mean, do you want to watch Vosh say it himself?
I don't need to, but I can assume like he doesn't say it to agree on it or like have a position about it, but rather to just tell how the status quo was going.
So, in this debate, Vosh was asked, so you believe that the nature of the Holocaust that the Holocaust only happened if somebody believed that it happened because truth is a product of power. And Vosh said yes.
Are you attempting to TOS me?
No, absolutely not.
Then why are you talking about the Holocaust all of a sudden?
Because that was the quotation that Vosh said.
Yeah, but what are you saying about the Holocaust?
It was that he basically agreed that that event only happened if you believed that it happened because truth comes from power.
Okay, that's just outright Holocaust denial, and I don't think Bosch will agree on that.
Well, do you want to see the clip of him saying it?
That's probably from all time he got shit, so I don't need to.
No,
But
it
I
was
don't
from like
assume
2
that's like
weeks
the
ago,
sharing
man.
opinions or
It
shit.
was from like 2 weeks ago.
How is it from 2 weeks ago?
Here, this is a Vosh tweet from February 12th, okay? And
February 12th, what year?
this year, 2021. So
2021.
it was just more than a month ago. And
Okay, link it to me already.
Vosh
Where's
says,
the link?
okay, here. I'll get you the link of the tweet. You might have deleted it because it's a terrible tweet, but maybe I can. Let me just go to from Vosh V, and I'll look up.
I don't have all the time.
Just here it is. Here it is. I will post it to you. Here is the Vosh tweet. There you go. He says, I think he's misinterpreting some conversation from a year ago where I said that truth and power are linked in the Foucault sense, and institutions in power have the ability to determine a truth for the people subservient to them. And then he says, I don't believe in objective truth. He says it right in the tweet. I don't believe in objective truth.
Yeah, but that's because now the status quo works. He already
No,
said it. Like institutions in power have the ability to determine a truth for the people subservient to them. Doesn't mean he has to agree on that. He's just saying that's how the majority of institutions work.
Well, then why does he say I don't believe in objective truth?
Because in the current institutions, there's no such thing as objective truth.
There absolutely
Doesn't mean he has to
is.
do a,
Of course there is.
but that's not how it works in the current institutions of today.
No, it
doesn't
is. Because institutions can't stop objective truth. So
Then I don't know if Wikipedia gets edited by millions of fucking people, even though they're not right on something. Do you think Wikipedia is factual?
here. Let me put it this way. My coffee mug right now sitting on my desk is
I
brown.
don't care about your fucking coffee
No.
mug.
This is
Tell me
important.
about
This is important.
Wikipedia. Is Wikipedia factual or not?
Wikipedia is not the truth. It is an institution. So here, listen.
Do you agree that that truth only comes from institutions?
No. Of course not.
You said that Wikipedia is an institution so therefore it's not factual.
No, I'm not saying that either. The truth can come.
It.
No, I'm not.
You
the truth.
Said it.
No, I didn't. The truth can come. No, listen.
You said
the truth.
I don't think it's factual because Wikipedia is an institution.
Yes,
you basically
it can be, but it doesn't have to be. No, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. See, truth can come from institutions, but it doesn't. It doesn't have to. Dude, here, listen. Here, okay. So
listen here.
Yeah.
You're making no absolute sense, and I gotta conclude that this is already getting absurd. And
no, this is fun, man. Come on.
Quite frankly, like
sorry, what?
No doubt.
What are you saying?
Frankly,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. What's going on?
Like for fascists. That's shit. There's no excuses around it, no centrism or whatever or anything like that.
Hold on. Why do you think I'm a fascist?
Because like, a lot of the fucking shit you say, it's pretty much right wing kind of shit.
No, free speech isn't right. Free speech isn't right wing.
Well, I mean, free speech isn't right wing, but you're like doing a lot of right wing shit lately on this debate.
Like what?
I don't know. Like, the fact that socialism is fascism or something. You said that kind of shit.
That is a liberal position, yes.
How is that a liberal position? That's like literally whatever fucking conservatives and right wingers tend to say.
Because liberals do not like socialists or fascists. Liberals oppose them both.
Okay, I gotta close it here. Honestly, this is quite a whole huge, enormous waste of time. I understand.
Oh no, this is fun for me, man. This is not a waste of time for me.
It's not a waste of time because you're showing your true colors at this point. So yeah, I don't know about it.
I'm a hidden liberal. It turns out.
I like eventually gonna upload this as a highlight or something like that on my channel either way, but whatever. That's contrary to whatever people on my chat currently say. So yeah,